Hey, it's Dave Asarno. I want to welcome you to day one. Today, we're going to talk about your head in the game. Now, the question is your head in the game? I want you to think about it. Do you know anyone out there that they snap their fingers and all of a sudden, it's like abracadabra, they get everything they want? And you're like, oh my gosh, these are the most lucky people in the world. Everything they do just comes to them. It's sort of like that Midas touch. Everything they touch turns to gold. I like to look at it a little bit different. It's not luck at all. There's three things that create luck. I think it's number one, it's belief. Now, what do these people have that most people don't? They harness the power of their mind. And when you want to think about what it takes to be successful, it's belief, it's preparation, and three, it's massive action. And let's talk a little bit about harnessing the power of your mind. And it really makes me think back to when I was about 16 years old. And I remember it like it was yesterday. You see, back then I was going through a little bit of a hard time. And if you grew up or you know anyone who grew up in a divorced family, there's things that happen to teenage kids. For me, I sort of felt, I don't know if I did or I didn't, I felt like I was alone. I felt like I was clammed up in a shell. And back then we used to go and hang out at the malls a lot, and I walked into a bookstore. And in that bookstore, I saw a cassette tape on a shelf. I don't know what made me do it at 16 years old, but I went to the self-help aisle, and I saw something about self-confidence because I didn't have any back then. And I listened to that tape, and I'm dating myself. I listened to that tape over and over and over again. And it was literally one of those things where I learned. I didn't go in there looking for this, but I programmed my mind and I started seeing myself differently. I started taking different actions and I felt different on the outside. And then one of the things happened. I ran track. And for some reason, I went back to that bookstore and I went to the self-help aisle and I found a book there that was talking about Eastern European athletes. And one of the things that I thought was absolutely amazing, they were talking about studies that people who practiced, and this was in guns and target shooting, the people who practiced at the range, and they practiced it in their minds with their eyes closed, and they could actually see it happening right in front of their eyes. Those people actually got better results than the people who were going to the range all the time. And so one of the things that I started to do, I used to run hurdles, and it's so funny. One of my last high school reunion, one of the guys asked me, Jim Haig asked, was I praying on the side of the track? And I laughed. And usually what I did is I'd lie down there, I'd take a stopwatch in my hand, I would close my eyes, and I would rehearse my race. I'd hear the gun going up, I'd feel the adrenaline going through my body, and I would literally run the race in my mind. I'd be there at the 15th step, and I'd be there, and my leg would go up, and I'd be running over the hurdles. The interesting thing was at the end, I'd see myself going through that finish line, I'd stop the stopwatch, and if I didn't like my time, I'd run it again. And my results were literally within tenths of a second of what was on the stopwatch. And so I learned at a very young age that you're able to harness the power of our mind. And it's funny because Jen Busick on our team, her daughter Morgan is running right now, and in fact she just ran in, I think, the California semifinals. And Jen was telling me that she wrote her times on her arm and she wrote these motivational speeches, and I just smile. And you know what? She's blessed because she's got parents that have that positive motivation. In fact, Chad, her husband, is a sports performance coach and he works with athletes. And it brings me, it's like flashbacks, and I love hearing it because it reminds me of what I did. But here's the thing. We all have this opportunity. We all have this opportunity to create this belief in our mind, to program everything that we want to create in our lives. And I think that's really one of the big differences when I look at it between the people who are in that top 1% peak performance achievers and those that are not. They have, like, nothing can stop them. Failure is not an option, and if they fail, they don't look at it as a failure. It's like, okay, what did I learn from this? What mistake do I not need to make again? And let's move forward fast. And it's really what we need to do. And the question is, what do you do every single day in your life? What kind of goals do you set for yourself? And by the way, I've heard people say, well, goals are bad. Here's the thing. I literally, every night before I go to bed, I am literally visualizing what is my next year going to look like. I'm literally sitting there and visualizing and then programming it in my head. I'm looking at the obstacles that are in front of me disappearing. Literally taking them out, and I can see them disappearing, and I can go forward. See, when you start looking at what we're going to achieve and nothing else is going to get in your way, so much is truly possible in our lives. And the fact of the matter is, or what I've read anyway, and I've heard, is the last thing that we think about before we go to bed is what our mind unconsciously, in the unconscious or subconscious level, is programming and thinking about 8 times more than anything else. If we go to bed in a bad mood, many times we're thinking about that and we may have a restless sleep. If we clear our minds, we focus where we want to achieve, to go, what we want to achieve in life, how many lives we want to touch, what kind of impact we want to make in the world, who are we going to surround ourselves with, who are we going to attract in our lives, so much is possible. So the other thing that you can do is a way that I've done goal setting for a long period of time, and I've taught a lot of the students that I work with, a lot of the clients I work with. It's this is by this day or sooner. I'll give you an example. Right now, I've got a group of clients that we're working with, and we're in a 90-day challenge. 90 days, we're looking for the race to 1 million followers. Now, how are we doing it? We are literally collaborating together while everyone is going live. We're sharing information, we're sharing knowledge out there that hopefully impacts people. And through that, we're all going to rise higher. Now, do I want to win? Yes. And I wrote down where I expect to achieve in the next 90 days. We all have. I'll give you an example. I was just at a business event, and I keep this here. It happens to be a Maker's Mark bottle, and inside of it is a label. On the label, I wrote down my limitless goals. Now, what is a limitless goal? If nothing got in your way, if everything was possible, from this day forward, from May, I want you to think about this, from May 15th, 14th, wherever we are, 14th, 2019, going into the end of the year, if everything was possible and nothing could hold you back, what would you want to achieve? What impact would you make in the world? Whose lives would you change? What would you do differently than you're doing right now? Well, I wrote mine, and my clients get to see it. One of the things that I have down here for our goals is the number of clients who are going to generate $1 million in revenue or more in the next 6 months or less by this date. And this is what I believe that I want. However, I'm open to receiving something even greater. And that's how I also write my goals. So how do you program yourself? How do you program your thinking? How do you look forward into the future that whatever is possible that you want to achieve, you can? So anyway, this is day 1. It's time to get our heads in the game and start to look at what we can achieve. You are an amazing human being. You are worthy of everything this life has to offer, and I encourage you to achieve it, to seize it, to take massive action on it, because the difference between the 1% and the rest is they believe, they take massive action. You do not look at the obstacles in the way. Look forward into the future on everything they can achieve. Anyway, hopefully this was valuable. You got a little nugget. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Tell me what you liked about it. If you didn't, tell me as well. Anyway, this is David Sarno. Create yourself an awesome day.